Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra deck tech. I want to share with you the deck that I used to make my final push to master. I have been complacent for quite some time and messed around a lot, haven't played that much off stream and haven't streamed that much, so I was still hanging out in like high diamond, but finally made the push. Usually after a patch I'm also a lot more excited and motivated to play, because things aren't as set in stone. There's more room for experimentation and finding cool new strategies to get a leg up on the competition, and that I did. I already built the deck and played it a bit on stream, but hit master off stream with a couple of games later, and now want to share the latest version I made. A few more improvements since the original version on stream that I also shared on my social media. So yeah, Lux Shen is what got me there, and the deck has a lot of play to it. It's pretty fun and interesting to play. It has quite a lot of power level, and yeah, might be at least like a tier 2 deck going forward, maybe even more. But decks like this, even if they can do really well, have a tendency to be more tier 2-ish, because they rely a bit too heavily on synergies and some cards that can be a bit awkward, so they're a bit more prone to some weird draws and don't have the exact same kind of raw power that something like the regular Demacia deck has. But there is a lot of interesting trade-offs there between those decks, and some it gives you more play, it makes you a little more unpredictable, and you trade some power for some other power like Greenglade and stuff like that. So yeah, I wanted to mess around basically with the new buffed Shen and some of the old favorites like Greenglade and so on, to see how good it can be. But yeah, anyway, before we dive deeper into the deck, you know the drill, hit the subscribe button down below to not miss out on future content. And before we get started, I'll briefly introduce you to today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by NordVPN, one of the leading virtual private network providers out there. A virtual private network keeps your data secure and yourself anonymous while using the internet. NordVPN comes with super fast servers, allows you to unlock your favorite entertainment websites like Netflix. They provide a 30-day money-back guarantee. They also have an included cybersecurity suite, which acts as an ad blocker to boot. They don't lock any of your data, provide a 24/7 customer support, and you can use it on up to 6 simultaneous connections, so one account covers most or all of your electronic devices. And most importantly, they don't have any bandwidth limit, so you can use it non-stop without it getting throttled, which is particularly important for heavy users like us. It also won multiple awards and comes highly recommended by top technology experts. So if you're still surfing online without a VPN, now is the time to change that. Get NordVPN now, 70% off for a 3-year plan, including 1 month extra for free, using the code ManuS or the personalized link in the description down below. And now on to today's content. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, let's take a look at the deck. The deck is kind of a bit of a hybrid between like the Lux Karma style decks and the Demacia Garen Fiora decks in how it is structured and how it plays out. So let's look at the unit. We have Fleet Feather Tracker and Greenglade Caretaker as our 1-drops. So the thing here basically is Greenglade Caretaker is great, and in order to play Greenglade Caretaker, we want Brightsteel Protector. Once we have Brightsteel Protector, there's not really a reason not to play Tracker, because Tracker is a good card and it gets only better with Protector. It also plays well with Shen. And once we're down that line, we also want to commit a bit more to this early game thing and make it better. And then that leads us to War Chefs, which makes Greenglade Caretaker a bit better on its own before it gets buffed early on, because as a 2/3 it can attack on certain boards where it otherwise couldn't. The opponent doesn't have good blocks. And obviously War Chefs is also nice with Tracker, either to trading up or sometimes killing like 1 attack units without losing the Tracker. So that kind of gives us this core package, which you also would see similarly in Demacia decks, except they usually don't have access to Caretaker and only have Tracker as the only 1-drop. So this gives us a bit more of a powerful early game that we then can follow up with Protégé, which also plays well with War Chefs, to an extent with Protector, and obviously with Shen. It's also just a good offense-defense unit that allows us to board control while also getting some damage in if there's nothing to control, and so on and so forth. And the additional 3-drop that I choose is Shadow Assassin. We don't really have room for another champion like Fiora, and Shadow Assassin gives the deck some card advantage because it replaces itself, so it's a 2-for-1. It's also a neat little threat that can kind of harass the opponent, and one of the more important things is it actually gives you a nice 1-2 punch with Greenglade Caretaker and Stand United, because most decks can't block Assassin, so they block your Caretaker, you have an unblocked Assassin, you can swap them and kill them with Caretaker, which comes up a fair share. It's still debatable whether or not the nerfed Badger Bear might be a better choice than Shadow Assassin. That is certainly possible, but so far I've been fairly happy with Shadow Assassin, which is why I stuck with it, but it's very possible that Badger Bear could be a better choice, but it's a close call, I think. Then on 4 we have Shen, which now is a much better unit on his own. 3-5 for 4-drop is very respectable stats, makes him fairly hard to kill in combat for most units around that time, and the rest is still the same. He helps our Caretaker, helps our challengers, is fairly easy to level in the deck, all things considered. And then the last unit, like actual unit we have, is Lux as a top end, and we have a couple of cards that play pretty nicely with Lux and with Shen, and also Lux Barrier helps level Shen and buffs Greenglade Caretaker, so there are like some subtle synergies. So let's talk about the spells. First off, we have single combat. First of all, single combat is just very efficient and flexible and gives you a lot of protection from a lot of things and lets you outplay and blow out a bunch of stuff. It obviously also plays well with barriers from Protector and Shen and so on. So that's kind of a nice addition. And once we have these, we also want some 4s to add up to 6 for Lux ideally, which means we have Riposte and Spirit's Refuge and 1 Deny to add up to 4, also because they're just good cards. It is possible that 2 Riposte, 2 Refuge could be better, but I think the +3 attack from Riposte for damage or for like trading will matter more often than Spirit's Refuge right now, but it could be close. Like if there are a lot of situations where you're kind of getting raised and lose close games, you might want to consider going 2-2. I started on 2 Deny, but in testing they have been a bit situational and awkward at times, and having a little more of these barrier effects is pretty good anyway, so I decided to cut a Deny for the 3rd Riposte, but it is possible that, like I said, the 3rd Riposte should be a 2nd Refuge, possibly. Especially on something like Greenglade Caretaker, Refuge can gain a lot of health and make it impossible for the opponent to race you. And on offense, this deck is much more annoying than on defense because of the challengers and the barriers. Then we have 1 back-to-back and 2 Stand United. This used to be 3 Stand United, but getting flooded with them is a bit awkward. They are good in different situations than back-to-back to an extent, and since we have Shen, additional Shens will also be Stand Uniteds, so I decided to go like with a 2-1 split to have a bit more diversity and make it also a bit harder for the opponent to play around. And the nice thing about Stand United and back-to-back is that they both level Lux, and they do so at burst speed, so you can level Lux, get a Final Spark, and use Final Spark right away before the opponent getting an opportunity to do anything beforehand. Also, Stand United obviously synergizes really well with Shen and with Greenglade Caretaker, also because Greenglade Caretaker can be swapped into an unblocked position to kill the opponent, which is a common use. Then we have 3 Remembrance, which is both a unit and a spell that levels Lux, so there's another nice synergy here, and sometimes you just get it for cheap and power it out. Also with the buff to the Scout 5-drop, the Elk, what's its name again? Forgot the actual name. Greathorn Companion. Remembrance got a bit better as well, and also the like raw roll options on like just turn 3 sometimes in matchups where the opponent can't punish it are a lot better, because now you have 3 great outcomes, and without a trigger, Guardian has like the underwhelming 5/5 for 5, but now that is a much better average roll, I would say, than before. And last we have 1 Unyielding Spirit. It's just a nice effect to have. It's annoying, it's powerful, some decks just can't handle it, and there are a bunch of good options, like put it on a Challenger, put it on a Caretaker, or just on one of the champions, or even a good remembered soul like a Guardian, or a Great Horn Companion can be really annoying. Oh, and what I forgot when talking about the units, there's one Bright Steel formation simply because the card's really powerful. It is expensive and can be a bit situational if you don't have much board, but it's really good with Shen, it's really good with Caretakers, and it's just really, really obnoxious to play against and a very powerful card to have access to, especially if you have some additional synergies from it. So I've been very happy with that. So yeah, that's the deck. It plays closer to Demacia than to like Lux Karma, I would say, but still has some of the power of the Lux Karma deck. Although in this deck, Lux is a bit more of a like power tempo swing play on 6, where you then level her the next turn with one of the burst spells ideally, and final spark a blocker, and yeah, basically swing the game in your favor heavily. She will often only trigger like once or twice and not like a million times, and be the kind of board control engine that she can be in Karma Lux, where you then obviously also get 2 final sparks and so on. So the deck certainly has less late game staying power than something like Karma Lux, but it has a lot more early game power. So it's somewhere between Karma Lux and the regular Demacia, and has some more maneuverability and outplay possibilities that Demacia doesn't have, and much more explosiveness and aggressiveness than something like Karma Lux has, which also now is kind of bad between all the nerfs. Like, it got hit by like 3 nerfs, kind of 4 nerfs actually: Badger Bear, Ranger, Karma, and Deep Meditation, all pretty devastating hits to the deck. So I don't think the deck can continue to exist the way it used to. And this is an interesting direction to explore. There's obviously also just the regular Demacia approach of this, where you just play like Shen and Greenglade in a Bannerman deck. Together with Fiora, you basically give up on Garen to get an additional 1-drop, and the Shen Greenglade 1-2 punch. Similar to stuff that, for example, Sixo used to run, inspired by JJ's non-elite, Super JJ's non-allegiance sort of barrier deck. These decks actually had a lot of issues with elusives in the past, but elusives aren't really a thing anymore, so they might actually have a lot of like potential to make a comeback. And it will remain to be seen if they do, how high tier they can be, and which version in the end will be better, like this Lux Shen approach, or a more Bannerman, Fiora, traditional Demacia style approach, just splashing the 2 obvious good barrier cards with Shen and Greenglade. I have tried both a bit, and so far this has been doing better for me, and has also been more enjoyable and more impressive, but I haven't tried the Shen Fiora deck that much, so I'll probably do that down the line as well to see which performs better over bigger sample size. Of all the games that I've tracked so far, where I played like actively and paid attention, I'm like 18-6. The record to master was 13-4, and since then I went like 5-2 in master or something, which is pretty solid. So yeah, deck's pretty cool. You kind of want to just, in terms of Mulligan, people wanted me to talk more about Mulligans. There really is, like, Mulliganing is in a lot of cases with a lot of decks, especially like sort of proactive curve decks like this, even with some playability toward like flexibility towards the end. Kind of you want to just Mulligan pretty straightforward. You want to Mulligan for your early game cards, make sure you have a curve. You want to try and find a 1-drop, a 2-drop, and maybe a 3-drop, but especially having a 1-drop and a 2-drop in your opening hand is ideal, and the rest is kind of a nice bonus. I'm not sure if I like keeping Shen in my opening hand. I know some people like that, but it just doesn't feel that important. And the deck has a lot of room. Like, if you don't have a Shen, you can have like a barrier effect on 4 and stuff like that. So I don't think it's probably worth it to keep Shen in your opening hand, unless you already have like a perfect hand. Sure, sometimes you have the 1-2 Shen or the 1/2/3 Shen or whatever, then it's fine. But if I don't have a 1-drop or a 2-drop, I don't think I would keep Shen in my opening hand. It's much more important to get a 1 and a 2, in my opinion, and go from there. And you obviously don't want to keep any of the top end cards in your hand ever, because they just clunk up your hand, including Remembrance. There are some matchups where keeping Remembrance might be fine and playing it on 3 because they don't have good ways of answering it. Like some Piltover deck that doesn't pair with, say, Ionia for Will. So basically, if your opponent doesn't have an efficient, good 1-card answer for whatever comes out of Remembrance, Remembrance is a fine option. But keep in mind the deck has 1 and 2s and 3s for a reason. So keeping a Remembrance and then drawing into a bunch of 1 and 2s is pretty awkward, because then you kind of have to play your 1 and 2s because they're not going to get better later. Then you have this blank Remembrance in your opening hand that's not going to be great until later in the game. So you probably don't want to keep it. Sometimes you can play it on 3 if you draw into it from a redraw, and it kind of is your best option given the texture of your hand. So yeah, the rest's pretty straightforward. I think if you have any more specific questions, feel free to ask, but there will also be some games where you can see me mulligan and see how things turn out. Because as usual, we're going to hop into 4 games of Masters, which I'm going to be recording in one go, since people have been responding pretty positive to that change, and the majority of comments that have engaged with that question have been pro all games in one video, so I'll keep that up for now. So thanks for your feedback, and continue to give me feedback and share your opinions, share your thoughts, give me constructive criticism. I'm happy to engage with it and adjust stuff to better accommodate my viewers, and also provide you with the best possible content, the deck techs hopefully that you are looking for, and so on. So you can also request potential decks that you would like me to see cover in the future. I'm not guaranteeing that I will cover them, but I will definitely take them into consideration, so it increases the chance of me covering that deck if you let me know that you would like to see it, especially if multiple people want to see it. Alright, so that's it for the deck. I think we covered everything important here. So far, I don't really have any potential additional changes that I can see other than what I said, the Riposte's Refute thing and the Shadow Assassin versus Badger Bear. The rest is pretty obvious, I think, kind of mostly builds itself. Like, a lot of the cards are dictated by other cards in the deck or by just being very good and powerful. So yeah, that is the list. And yeah, before we dive into the games, you know the drill. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification icon to not miss out on the rest of the content, and keep in mind all further information that you need you can usually find in the description down below by clicking show more. There are usually all the social media links if you want to follow me on any other platform, like watch my stream, for example. I usually stream Monday through Friday most weeks, so check that out. Code to the deck, link to the deck on LOR Guardian, and so on. So yeah, also obviously all the sponsor information and sponsor deals, like the NordVPN deal that we got going right now, and a download link to my deck tracker overlay for anyone that likes it. LOR Guardian is sponsoring me, so show them some love. They make a really nice looking deck tracker and expedition helper for Runeterra, and they're also very open to feedback. So if you like it in general, but there's some improvements that you see, just let them know. They'll be happy to accommodate their users' feedback as well. Alright, and now on to the game, so I'll see you in a moment with the first game. Stay tuned.